Hi, I'm Victor Maas, real estate attorney, broker, and investor, but no one really cares. What they care about is that I'm a problem solver. So that's what I do for a living, is solve problems.
I'm going to show you how to find deals you never even knew existed.
Deals are everywhere, but you got to get off your butt.
One deal is all it takes to change your life. Victor freaking Maas, that's right.
On the table today, we'll be discussing the practice of buying, fixing, and flipping homes in this current market. I'm going to talk about some of my experiences with buying and flipping homes and some of the best practices you can use to try and make the most profit in the current market. So the first thing I'm going to attack is what makes it worth it to buy a home. To me, it's just numbers. I don't even have to look at properties anymore. I just know numbers. Based in my town of San Antonio, Texas, I know certain parts are doing better than others. But I always start with the end in mind. So what is the conservative after repair value? I know there's a lot of wholesalers that try to sell you on a pie in the sky price, but I don't. I go at what do 3 like properties sold for in that neighborhood. And so once I know the solds, then I can work my way backwards. So I pay no more than 70 cents on the dollar minus rehab. So if I'm buying a $200,000 home with an estimated repair of 30 grand, so I know that 200 times 70% is 140 minus 30, my maximum offer is 110. Of course, I'm going to try to negotiate the best price possible for me, but I know that's my max. What is that 30% that we're talking about on top? Well, it represents profit, taxes, holding costs, closing costs, commissions, everything. You need that 30%. Without that 30%, you should not be buying and rehabbing or wholesaling properties. So that to me is it. I don't care if the property is in San Antonio, Dallas, Austin, Houston, Detroit, Denver, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the numbers. So start at the end and work way backwards. So the next thing is, what is a good price in this market? Well, in my hometown of San Antonio, people are still wanting to buy affordable housing. That's a big thing here. If I were in Austin or Houston or maybe even parts of San Francisco, no, they want $1 million houses in those markets. I don't do that here in my town. So the end is, don't worry about what you want. Worry about what your population wants. So a good way to figure that out is, what is the median price? Stick to that. So in my area, somewhere between 150 and 300 is kind of a good range. What would make a house unattractive to me? It's very simple. If it's a huge project, it's going to take me a year to rehab, that means it's capital intensive. I'm not interested in those. Real estate does not have to take a long time to make a profit. It's one of the best things about real estate investing is you can make a profit even if you wholesale it in a week or 2, or you can rehab it, very light rehab, and it takes you 3 to 6 months. That's more doable to me. So the most thing that we have in common, you and I, as you're watching this, is time. That's the one thing we can't buy enough of. The day you're conceived, you're already dying, and so we have so little time in this world. So focus on real estate that doesn't take forever. That's for me, my thing. What is the process for fixing a home? Once I have made the deal, once I close on the transaction, there's some basic things that a lot of people forget about. Make sure you insure the property. Make sure you have the utilities turned on. Make sure you pulled your permits. And so once you've done those things, then work with your contractor or your handyman to get these things fixed. A lot of what I do is becoming the GC, the general contractor. I sub out all of the things. I sub out the roofing, the foundation, the windows, the electrical, the plumbing, the interior painting and fixing up of the sheetrock, the exterior painting, the landscaping, all these things. You got to think about what needs to be done and do a checklist. But there's always 4 steps to buying and rehabbing home. Always these 4 steps. Number 1, remove, remove, remove. Remove everything, all the garbage. Get 1, 2, 3, 4 dumpsters, whatever you need. The most dumpsters I've ever done, 13. 13 dumpsters for a hoarder house. And even though I spent like a few weeks getting it all cleaned out, and after I did all the rehab, I sold it, I still made about 80 grand profit. So I thought it was worth it. So remove, remove, remove. Step 2, repair, repair, repair. Always start with the foundation, then the roof. While that's going on, order your windows if you need to replace them. Start lining up the electrical, the plumbing. Make sure everything is done, the major components, including HVAC unit, air ducts, all these major components. So after remove, and repair, now it's repaint. Everybody tries to cut corners, and I'm telling you, the one thing you don't want to cut corners on is painting inside and out. It makes them look brand new. A lot of your buyers want turnkey properties, so if you make it difficult for them to appreciate your home, they're not going to offer you what you want or even buy it at all. They like the smell of a new car. They like the smell of a new home. And I don't care if the home is 20 years old or 80 years old. A good coat of paint, 2 coats sometimes, will make them look amazing. Don't forget to paint the ceilings. Don't forget to paint the closets, inside the closets. One of the things I like to do is if I'm going to replace the HVAC unit indoors, when they pull it all out, before they put a brand new one in, I get my guy to go in there, fix up any sheetrock, and paint, so that way when they put in the new unit, it looks amazing. So after repaint, the last thing is replace. And this is where you get to have a little fun. This is where you get to pick out the light fixtures, the door handles, the countertops, the appliances, a lot of the fun stuff you see on these TV shows. But truly, that's not the important part. The important part is the first 3. Make sure you fix everything. Make sure you get all the stuff done so that way when they do the home inspection, you don't have a laundry list of things that need to get done. You can't hide from it, folks. People are going to get home inspections. And so one of the great things I would advise you to do if you want to do a really good job at your rehabs is get it pre-inspected after you've done your whole rehab. So things you missed can be fixed before you put it back on the market. In fact, one of the things I do is I leave the inspection report on the counter with my little notes of everything I have fixed based on the pre-inspection. So that way when your buyers show up, like, wow, this guy did everything. Then they give you top dollar, it closes faster. They may not even ask for a home inspection report. And even if they get their own, the amount of work is going to be so minimal. So take care of your properties. Your buyers are going to get so excited when they see your property. And the last thing I do in the rehab process is I stage my home. Yes, I will spend about $1,500 to $2,500 staging my home. And I've yet to go past a month of staging property that didn't sell. So it's something for you to really consider. What type of budget should an investor have when starting a fixer-upper project? These days, I would encourage you that if it's strictly cosmetic, you should have a budget of $30,000. It makes it easier to decide whether it's worth pursuing or not. But even more so, it does take care of a lot of your cosmetics. Interior stuff, exterior stuff, landscaping, maybe new countertops, new appliances, new fixtures, flooring throughout, painting throughout, everything. This is just cosmetic stuff. Once you start doing things like HVAC units, roof, you might have started adding about $6-7 grand per component. Windows, another $7 grand. Electrical, another $5 to $7 grand. And we're just talking basic subdivision cookie cutter homes. If you're doing major construction where literally you have to almost rebuild the thing down to the studs, I'd encourage you to talk to at least 2 or 3 contractors to figure out what's going on. And just because the guy's charging the least does not mean he's the guy you should hire. You should always ask for references on these big projects. I don't advocate big projects, especially when you're starting out. You don't want to fail at this, you want to build up to it. I always tell my students, learn to crawl before you walk before you run. So I know a lot of you want to be big time investors overnight. Don't do that. It took me years till I felt like I was confident in doing this. I didn't start doing this kind of stuff teaching for like 10 years. Some of these folks, they do one deal, they think they're overnight successes. They got lucky. How long should a general rehab take? Well, it depends on the project, but if it's cosmetic, you're looking at probably about 4 to 8 weeks. Depending on labor shortages right now, it might take longer, it might take shorter, depending on your crew, longer and shorter. The worst part of rehabbing are the contractors. You try to line them up as best as possible. Inevitably, they're working on 2 or 3 other projects and they're going to cut corners on yours while they're trying to do 2 or 3 jobs at one time. They're going to ask for all the money in advance. They're going to ask for half the money in advance. Never pay contractors money in advance whatsoever. You can do payouts as they finish parts of the project, but never advance the contractor any money. At the very least, you can offer to pay for the material in advance by going to the hardware stores or wherever the suppliers are. You can pay for that in advance. But again, never advance contractors any money. That's been my biggest lesson to have to learn the hard way. What should an investor do before listing the property on the MLS with multiple listing services? First thing, as I mentioned, you want to get it staged, you want to get it cleaned, you want to make sure everything's mowed, edged, trimmed, make it look nice, because people want something fresh and new. So that's the first thing you do. Secondly, I would look at the MLS to see what the comps are. You might be surprised that prices are going up or prices are coming down. So anticipate these things, because it doesn't matter what you want. If it doesn't appraise, you can't sell it. And it's embarrassing. You sell it for way more than you should. People are excited because it's a great home, but then it doesn't appraise. So a lot of people have some down payment money, but they can't cover those big losses or differences. So that's the first thing I would encourage you to do, is make sure you look at the MLS and make sure the home looks amazing. Once you're about to list it, make sure you've got a good yard sign. Make sure you post it in all your social media. Get the word out. Don't just rely on the MLS. One of the big things I would encourage you to do, possibly before listing the property, is have an open house on a Saturday and a Sunday from 1 to 4. Make sure you have yard signs everywhere that morning. Put some ads in social media or in the local paper if there's such a thing anymore. Put it on Craigslist, a bunch of other social media sites to draw in traffic. One of the things you could do if you really wanted to is make some flyers and go to all the neighbors maybe a day or two before and pass out 100 to 200 flyers. Hey, if you have a family member that wants to move in the neighborhood, here's a great home. We're going to list it. We're going to give you first dibs. Open house this Saturday from 1 to 4 and Sunday from 1 to 4. I have done banners from the yard sign to the house. I put balloons up at the yard signs. Draw traffic. Draw traffic. Okay? How can an investor comp the home? Well, the easiest way is to have a realtor in your pocket. You give them the address. Hey, what do you think I should sell this property for? That's honestly the easiest thing, especially if they're going to list all your properties. So they should want to work for you. If you're not there yet, an easy thing I do is I put the address in Google search and look at averages between Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Realtor.com, a bunch of others. And I try to eliminate the high ones and I try to average out kind of what's left. And so that's kind of an idea before you buy the property. But I cannot emphasize this enough. When it's time to resell, I do think you need to talk to a realtor in your area and try to get good comps so you don't lose out on some money. What is the standard time for a flip, start to finish? Honestly, I think I mentioned it earlier. Standard time is about 4 to 8 weeks. You can get it done fast. You can get it take you even longer. I think the fastest rehab I ever did, our true rehab, cosmetic, new flooring, painting inside and out, countertops, appliances, you name it, landscaping, roofing even, I think it was about 8 days. I mean, I was sitting there in a lawn chair calling everybody and their mother who wanted to come work, and I got the thing done. I had my checkbook right there and I got it done. Nowadays, there's really not a whole lot of incentive to rush a rehab. And here's why. Because a lot of your buyers are FHA and VA buyers, and they require a 90-day seasoning. In other words, they have to own the property as an investor for 90 days before they can put it on the market. You can't put it under a contract for 90 days. Now, you could probably put it under contract, you just can't execute the contract till after the 90th day. Because then it goes to their lender, their underwriter, they're like, wait a minute, you just owned this house for a month or two. We can't insure the property through FHA or VA. Now, with cash or conventional, you can reduce that. But in my area, a big chunk of the buyers, I'd say a majority of them, are FHA and VA buyers. So I've kind of had to adapt to that. And is it worth it? Yeah, I think for an extra month or two of not, waiting, I guess, and only pay an extra month or two of, let's say, interest if I borrowed money. But since most of my properties I buy with my own cash, I don't worry about that. So that's about the worst thing. Even when you prorate taxes, it's another, $200 to $500 extra a month. But it's not that bad of a thing. What should an investor consider a success or failure after a flip is complete? Well, if you haven't lost all your hair, if you have hair, that's a good sign. Number two, I try to make a minimum of $30,000 profit. Now, a lot of them are much higher. I just, this past Friday, today's Wednesday, this past Friday I closed on my second best rehab ever. And I think altogether it was a net profit of about $150,000. I mean, that's huge, massive. So that one took me about 4.5 months. So at a minimum, you should strive for $30,000 profit if you're going to buy, fix, and flip. So I'm going to discuss with you one of my most profitable buy, fix, and flip. And it was kind of the one I just talked about. I was referred to this property. There was a federal judgment on it for about $160,000. It was only worth, I thought, about 180. And so all of a sudden, right now in 2021, the market's stupid crazy in my market. So I went and looked at the property. It was mostly cosmetic stuff. I anticipated 25 to 30 grand. And so I made a deal with the two heirs, adult children, males. One lived in, I think, North Carolina, one lived here. And I made a deal with them because of the federal judgment. I would buy it for 10 grand each. Why would I do that when the home is only worth 180 and they owe 160 and stuff? And here's why: because I've gotten really good at removing these federal judgments. I can negotiate with them, or in this particular case, I was able to get it off for nothing. So then we spent some time getting the home emptied out. Wasn't too much in there. We repainted the outside, the inside. We fixed everything inside the home. It wasn't much. It was just mostly cosmetic stuff. Flooring was a big one. Underneath the kitchen sink, it was rotten, so we ended up replacing all the kitchen cabinets, and that was probably one of my bigger expenses. I splurged on the countertops. I did get appliances. Everything is done. Cleaned it all up, staged it on a Thursday, listed it on a Friday, and by Sunday I had an offer. I had multiple offers, $10,000 over my asking price of $225. Couldn't believe it. Didn't think I could sell it for $180. Sold it for $235. Now they ended up doing their own inspection. They requested a new roof. The fact that they overpaid for it, in my opinion, I decided to go with it. I think it cost me like $5,500. Some other little repairs, but it was an amazing deal. I mean, this is like, you try to get one of these once a year. I mean, this is the difference maker. This is what separates you from just barely getting by and like really enjoying life. So I'm not against rehabbing, but it has to be the right one. This one just happened to be a really good one. The best rehab I've ever done. Something similar. There was a federal judgment. I got the judgment removed for nothing. I basically bought the property for the back taxes of 29 grand in a really good neighborhood. I ended up living in it, and I lived in it for 3 years. And I put about 80 grand into rehab and paying off the taxes. And after 3 years of living in it, I resold it, and I got my 80 grand back plus a profit of $200,000 tax-free because I lived in it for 2 years in 1 day. So that was an amazing one. I was going to wholesale that sucker, when I first acquired it, and I was going to net about 130. But by holding on to it, I didn't have a mortgage for 3 years, saving me probably another 60 to 70 grand. So that was an amazing deal. Not only did I make 200, but I got my 80 back, and I probably saved myself an additional 60 to 70 grand in payments. So I would say that's the best one. As always, thank you for watching our show. For more real estate investment and legal real estate content, please subscribe to our channel. Please follow me on social media, and the links are below. Don't forget to visit thevictormaas.com for coaching and future events. Also, listen to our podcast by searching for The Victor Maas Real Estate Show wherever you listen to podcasts. Also linked below. Until next time, this is Victor Maas signing off. Take care.